Yeah. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are starting our G-IDLE marathon today. Very pumped for it. The first track we're going to look at is LATATA. We have a dance practice as well as a couple of music videos to take a look through. I'm pumped. Let's get started. It is fun to actually take a look at it because I did technically see this as a live performance with Queendom, as well as the new version of it that they reworked it with. So it's fun to take a look at the original, the way that it's intended. Fun. I do like the track a lot. Such a fun track. Very nice. I really like that groove. I think it's my favorite groove that they do, and I like the fact they kept it in the Queendom remix. Yeah. Side note, I really love my girl in front when she has that short, choppy blonde hair. Such a look. I love it. She looks great with long. Such an iconic vibe with her short hair. That does give a deceptive type of finish, like how they finish in their pose. That could have been the end, like it really felt that way. But I like the fact that we have a finishing touch like this. It's nice. Love it. Such a vibe. Yes, I also know that they recent years, G-IDLE does operate as a group of 5 with one of the members departing, and now she is a soloist. So I know for a lot of these we will be looking at them as a group of 6, and then at a certain point they will be a group of 5. But I am excited to be able to take a look at this. But before we do that, we have a music video to watch, so let's go ahead and check it out. Love it. So I'm operating from the lens of this would be the first time people see this group because this is their debut. I like that they put their names next to them. 중독된 향기까지 그렇게 뒤섞여 I've seen that Yuchi has quite a few solo tracks we get to look at this month, which is exciting. Fun. You notice she was able to slide a little bit easier in that moment compared to the dance practice. It could just be the type of floor. Also looks like she got some henna on her hands. Love it. Nice, ladies. It's a vibe. Oh, and her hat's on fire. That's actually really funny. That's cute. I'm assuming that was a little CGI moment there. That was a fun little element for sure. We do have one more. It is the Japanese version of the same track. And the reason why I wanted to look at this is I did hear, it's something that we've noticed, you know, within the market, in the industry, not just in K-pop, but even in Western, the Western side. Whenever people promote in different countries, sometimes the look or the presentation of the choreography, the costuming environment does appear a bit different. And so I'm curious if it's the same music video or if it's going to have a different look because of the market. So let's go ahead and watch. Brighter colors already. I like the fabrics they have for that section. I hope you guys like the song because we're hearing it quite a few times on Just Reacts recently. Because we heard it twice on Queendom. We're hear it 3 times here, and then we're going to analyze it. It's a great track. It's fun. moi, moi, moi. So this one, I mean, some of the outfits have a similar degree of revealingness about them. Different venues, which I think is cool. It does give a different vibe. Not as industrial. Industrial with like chandeliers and that kind of stuff, but not in like the, it's not as grunge maybe. Feels classier. But I like both sides, it's fun. I liked her thigh-high glittery heels, those were fun. And it makes sense with the choreo too that they are in heels for a lot of this promotional stuff. So the grooves they do a pretty good job in tennis shoes and in heels, so the versatility between how they do it is nice. Fun. Very nice. I mean, gives the same energy as what we were seeing from the other music video and here in the dance practice. Such a vibe. Love it. Okay, analysis time. Here we go. From the top. From the get-go, if you just notice, I really like how they just set it up in the levels because you're dealing with an even number and it gives a really good sense of balance, proportion, and symmetry because you have two of them represented in the center, you have two looking away but also framing to create a really nice moment, cohesive with what's going on in our center. And so I just like the connection happening with mirroring going on. It truly feels like we are operating with a legit mirror in the center, and I am such a fan of it because both of our girls that are in center have their arms crossed over like it's a reflection. So already out the gate, very much a fan, very captivated by the choice. What I do find interesting, however, is I believe Soyeon, I guess, right, would be my guess for my Miss Blonde right here. And I do find it interesting that everybody is, you know, going in opposition except for her. She extends her arm out instead of up. I just find that interesting because they just set up this really nice, complex, mirrored type of leveled formation, which I really like. I'm going to assume that was her own preference choice. I don't mind it. I just find it so interesting. So she goes out and then back in. I wonder if when she brings her arms out, could be a shoulder flexibility thing, could be she doesn't want to cover up either of them. She may have not wanted to go for that true symmetry line. It does feel more preference in that choice, very clear in that choice. So they bring it right back in. I really like how we're framing the face, our features framing, crossing over, just like she did in the very beginning, which I really like. She switches it over and it kind of feels like they flip-flopped. So you had everybody else surrounding your feature. They were here first, and then they flipped to here. She went from here, and she flipped it to the frame. I like that, and then one of our girls is reverting back to her original pose. So there's a lot of like fingerprints tying back into the original pose that we're seeing in this beginning, which is really nice. Da-da, and I like that everybody takes their hands, and they're bringing them down. She gets to have a nice moment. The only one not covering her face or making it look like an X-ray across her face. She's making it her own moment. Definitely gives like that butterfly effect there. Back to the crown. Same exact formation that they did. Not formation, same choice is made in the formation like they did in the very beginning, which I like. They build it up. And the subtlety there, boom, and then we take it nice in the shoulders. So we're building it very well to recognize the different sounds in our track, but we're not doing too much, and we're being considerate of circumstances like dancing in heels, but we're making it very interesting, very captivating. It makes me want to lean in and listen and see where we go from here, which I like. I like that no wah. So notice she goes wah. And those types of things I always am impressed with when it comes to choreography that is with K-pop groups because they are singers who dance as well, right? So the choreography, there's more of a risk that is run when you decide to choreograph on vocals because there's a chance they can deviate from it, specifically with how she has that da-da-da-da, like that kind of swing up in pitch. I really love that choice. And it does feel like it's a part of just the overall flow flow of that section of her verse, but it's still her tone. She can change at any time. So the fact that we have choreography going on that means that she has to hold it down and show competency in that type of hold whenever she performs it live, which I know she very, very much does. And so I love those little choices because it actually ups the difficulty and complexity of how you're interpreting your choreo, because you're going off of people who are singing at the same time, who can deviate if they so choose. So I love the collaboration of that. So she goes and she melts out of it. I really like that. And it causes everybody to expand out of there. I really love that choice. Doom, and we travel it up. Really fun. And notice from here, I love this little reveal. What's so interesting is that I just recently took a look at Billy. They had choreography that had some of these choices overlap, but it's so syncopated in a different way. And I really like this one here, and they're completely different in terms of the years they came out, probably the choreographers, but I do like how there's some overlap, and this one feels very fitting for this choreo, and theirs and their complexity they added to theirs is fitting on their track. So I just really like seeing these types of overlaps, but how tasteful they are in their respective genres. It's really nice. I also like how she takes her arms and she makes it a moment with her next feature, because it helps tie together that very end where they're all touching. It's just, it feels very communal and it feels collective and collaborative. It doesn't feel like, okay, here's my feature. We're not going to, you know, really mess with each other. We're not going to like actually connect at all outside of just a formation. So I really like these subtle choices, these little details where we're making some form of connection. It's really nice to see. And of course, we have mirroring going on with our other four, which is really nice. So far, very symmetrical, very pleasing. But she goes and she grabs, so good on the feature for making sure she grabs So-Yeon so it doesn't look awkward. So-Yeon she can only go off a feeling. Everybody else dives deep a little bit deeper. They come up. They could have taken that very sensual, but they didn't. They just dropped it to make it a level difference. And so I don't mind either, especially if you're an adult. You can make those choices. It's your own genre and concept. But I know they're still younger here. I don't know what their age is at this point, but I'm hopeful that they're able to grow up safely in the idol industry, because that is something that we do end up talking about quite often with a lot of really young groups. So once again, I do not know their age at this point. I think somebody did tell me what their age was on Patreon, so forgive me if I've forgotten that, but we'll cover that as we go through our marathon, right? But I digress, my point being that I like the fact that we've dropped down, great choice in the levels, and then they all come right back up to go, and then they walk to transition. I like this choice, da-da-da-da-da. Once again, another thing, we're going on the swing of the pitch, da-da-da-da-da, which is something that you normally, know that's a really fun way to showcase your choreography or provide texture or dynamics to your choreo. But once again, because it's a K-pop group, we're singing, and that is something that can be modified, not just the production, but the vocals. It's just really impressive that we are allowing those types of opportunities in our choreo. I just like it. I like it. And then my feature, of course, she gets to deviate and do her own little thing, her own vibe, which I really like. And then they take it, she gets to take it, use her hip. That hip comes into play very often in the choreo, so I like seeing her make that own choice. Everybody goes and they sync really nice on the elbow, and they take that fist up to the chin, really nice. Uh-oh, and then we have a reveal from our back. Once again, we didn't have anybody covered up no longer than an 8 count, which I'm always very thankful for, because it is tricky when you deal with 1-point features with groups, and in this case, this is an even number, so anytime you deal with one person that is being featured, you sometimes, in order to maintain, balance between two sides of your feature, whether you're framing them or you want to provide some sense of depth to a formation, and you want it to feel pleasing to look at, right? Because as humans, we naturally like to see balance. We like to see symmetry. That's just something that's just ingrained in our being. And so that's something that we naturally look for when we look at choreo, regardless if we realize it or not. So that's why I talk about it pretty often, because that's just a universal, regardless if you're a choreographer, that is just something that we naturally want to have, unless the intention is to purposely deviate from symmetry, which there are people like that. And hats off to you for that, But this reveal was really nice. If anything, the setup by having her directly in behind our previous feature allows us to have a fun reveal moment like this. And I also really like the swings of the hands. Like how she rides on her tone. They imitate it so well in their movement by creating some tension through the legato of the arms. And I think that's why it's really captivating, because they even finish it out with a body roll. It feels like it's like it's teasy, but like liquid. It's fun. And they go, ta, once again, right there on the tone. I think that's one of the most impressive things about this. Way to go, choreographer, taking those risks on this. This is cool. And honestly, that really nice connection between our two dancers to allow her that little archway to thread through, I think it was a fun moment. Provides, once again, more connection between each other on that. It's throwing that hand up and dropping it nice and low. Ding, 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 da, 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 da. Da, and da, da, da. So they went on the syllables, ba, 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 ba. So it went in 3 parts. Really fun. They went from 2 to 1. A lot of times I see people go from 1 1 to 2, but I like that choice because it was equal, and then we finished either higher or lower in the number. I think that was nice. Then that part, they take the arms, boom, oh. And I like that choice. Oh, now I will say with the hips, it's not quite clear what we're doing with our hips, how we're swaying them. Are we wanting them to go on the oh, making them choppy and isolated? Or are we going choppy and then legato or smooth? So that would be my one note observation here in this section. I'm not quite sure what we were really going for. Yeah, especially on that second one, you know, I saw some shoulders engaged on that, but I really like the choice, ding, 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 ding. So they just made them both subtly different in order for it to feel like we're progressing, even though she hits it the same way twice. It's cool. They take the arms, really nice rotation. Oh, guys, oh, can we appreciate this? This is really good. So I talk about range just like with timing. There's 2 components to it. So with timing, it's your point A and point B and matching your counts or matching where you're hitting this movement to the and this movement respectively. And a lot of times you see a lot of groups hit those things well, but those really, really clean groups, what they do is they get how they get from A to B just as clean. So even their timing in the duration of the movement itself, which is something like this, where you start with one position and you finish in another position. Some people go 5, 6, but a lot of times they don't clean how long or the dynamics or texture that you're doing to get from those points. And this is a freaking beautiful example of it looking great. Please look at this. Oh, so beautiful. Da, 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 da. So notice we created tension and they match the same degree of they're creating tension in the same spots. And then they make it nice, sucked in, great. We shoot it out and we nice little pony action, looks great here. Oh, so I like the double, and then we drop it right there onto the thighs, really nice. And then I like that they all face the back, and then we create a fun framing moment where they're peeling over the back towards our feature. Our feature goes and looks at her members, which I really like. And normally you see them look front, but I like, honestly, her looking to the back. It feels like we're actually connecting. We're about to drop into our course. And they do a nice accent with the hand. I love you. Hit it and drop. This does feel, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, it does feel maybe a little subtle Latino influence in genre. It could just be my saturation of the genre in general, but maybe the LATATA, maybe I'm just like projecting onto it. I don't know, but it does have that, not Cuban, you know, I'm not going to even go specific, but it feels that not reggae, maybe reggae, something, there's just something about it. I'm going to assume it's the tonal colors or what instruments they're using that influences it, because I don't know if the rhythmic pattern equates to it. I don't know. But anyway, it gives a different type of genre representation here in this realm, which I like it a lot. I like the bleeds on this. It's super fun. It looks great in tennis shoes and it looks great in heels. So I really like the fact that it's choreo that can stand on its own regardless if you're in heels or not. And that's some really great choreo, because sometimes it can look a little bit too simple or it can be a little bit too challenging to convert over to heels. So this is a really fun, happy medium that I'm seeing here. So I'm glad I saw the music video so I could really see the context in which they perform with it, which is nice. And then notice with our feature in the center, she didn't really do anything with the arms, but she made a fun moment matching posture and torso progressions just like the other members. LATATA does feel like everyone's making a subtly different choice there. I don't know if we were supposed to be here or where, but I love that. And they pull it up really nice on the leg. And then we do a little salsa step. It feels that way. You know, maybe Nah, I'm not. Here's the thing. Please do not think that I am coming at this from any sort of Latin ballroom lens. I have taken Latin ballroom before, but I could not tell you near as much terminology, vocabulary, or hold it down as effectively in comparison to street styles. That's more my niche that I actively study significantly more in musicality from the Western music culture lens. So please keep that in mind, that I am not quite, if I name something and it's just a smidgen off, my apologies for it. It does give me a little bit of a cha-cha-cha. Not really cha-cha-cha, because more goes more to the side. Just the rotation of the hips, I think, is what we're equating to, like that Latin ballroom kind of aesthetic here, which is also what may subtly make me feel that this type of track matches in that way. I like the choice with the where they keep repeating with this little ball change, and they take the chest ISO. It's really nice. LATATA, and then we create it. It's like we're putting on gloves. It kind of feels that type of sophistication, which justifies the Japanese music video vibes that we were seeing. LATATA, LATATA. And then we see our ladies in the middle. They're bringing up those arms, which is really nice. But then my girl that's in the back, she's doing the actual choreo that we're used to seeing. All the other girls convert it or modify it for a transition's sake. But notice that we had mirrors within the transition, so it still felt balanced and symmetrical all the way through. And that's probably my favorite thing I'm noticing from this group so far with who they have as their choreographer. It's really nice to where the transitions are just as intentional as the movements themselves. So I love when I get to see that and celebrate that. It's so fun. And then from there, I like this. I think they present it out and then they flick the hands out. Let me double check that before we move on. Ta, la, ta, ta. Yeah, so they go here and then they flip it. Yeah, and then they go out. So it goes up, out, and then they fold it down to the side, or they make it like little fun jazz hands on that moment. Great level showcase. So this is, you know, they're really fighting. I can tell that they're really fighting to avoid having somebody get covered up. So I really like the fact that we are trying to fight for this balance, but also fight for everybody to be seen as long as possible, especially if they're featured. I really like that. There's that subtlety here with the hips, and then they go bring it to the mouth, we twinkle it. I love me a good little stylized moment going from pinky to index. Fun with my feature, she makes sure that she is known. She does a little extra with her upper body compared to everybody else, even though her torso and her lower body match in the transition. She makes it known, hey, I'm still featured, watch me. Great job. I love you. Then it goes into our dance break right here, which I love. We go here, doon doon. So notice that we're using the base of our palm as we shift it down, doon doon, which is really fun. We're sitting in that hip, and then we switch it, boom, and then we bring it right back up. So it's simple, ding ding, boom, ding ding. A little subtle speed change in there. I really like it. It's effective because it allows us to really sit and explore in this rotation or in this scoop with our hips. It's really fun. Bring it through. I like the shoulders, boom, boom. I know some of them have quite some tension up here, and I noticed it from my center Soyan, right? So it goes boom, da da. I really like that. Switching it over, and then switch it up, and then from there, that was nice. We swing, swing, body roll up, really allowing the neck and the head to get involved too, which I really like. They take it ta ta as they're doing something polyrhythmic. So I really like the fact that we're enjoying this little pop-up syncopated moment with the hands as we're allowing this fullness of the body to infiltrate. Really fun. Love that choice. Da 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 da. Looks great here. So they double it up, da 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 da, just to make it a transition. So what I'm noticing here, and I don't know if I've said it in this way, but I will reiterate it here. Their transitions are just as much of a priority as their movements or content. So I am definitely a fan of that. I love it, and I respect choreographers who put that as a priority, because a lot of times people only care about content or the viral moments of things, but they completely neglect the transitions or the dynamics in which to bring those things to life or to make them shine, right? And so I really feel that the transitions are helping so much to make this choreography very visually pleasing for us to see, and it's setting them up for success as well by creating variety in different ways to showcase them, which I think is awesome for a debut. Every day, every night, I love how they all absorbed into their line, and then having Soyeon come near the front. LATATA, nice, and then they take it right here. This is our second part of our dance break. Take it around, ding ding, and here's my favorite groove that they do. I love that choice. They make this arm a fixed point, and we're isolating it to the hip, so it's everything from the chest down is in its own world. This is hanging out as a fixed point. I've talked about fixed points before. It is a part of the body that is fixed in a position in space around us, and you can move around. It's a miming technique that's where I've heard it learned and glean from whenever I would practice within that style, where it's kind of like you're stuck in a box. It's kind of like that, right? That's an example of using fixed points. And you see them a lot whenever you see people, you know, create angles and positions. There's a fixed point happening in some facet of space in order to allow other parts of the body to be a focal point. Or the absence of movement of something here allows us to showcase the focus of aggressively extroverted movement somewhere else, and vice versa. So I really like that choice here with a fixed point, and they bring it through, they double it up. So notice that going from here with the hip, keeping the hip the same, but they build up the energy with the arms. That's why it felt different. It's because it's a different execution in the upper body, which I think is really nice. I love the chest roll on that. Boom, doom, doom, really nice on the build-ups. They take those arms, they flatten them out, drop them down. Then we bring it up to complement what's going on with the legs. The legs and the arms meet, and not like meet, but they are connected in how they rotate, which I think is really fun. Every day, every night. LATATA, yes. Lazy. Notice she goes, so it's just kind of, we're sitting in how she's vibing, you know? And everybody else, they switch. So now it's a different transition. Baby, they take it, boom, and they do a little ball change over to the side. Very easy to know who our feature is because she steps out over on stage left. She's the only one not facing the direction of stage right. They go, basic, cool. And then she goes, she has her own moment, her own vibe. We'll focus on what the rest of the members are doing. Doing a good job sitting in the hips. They get to kind of do their own thing, which I really like. But notice that because they're all doing their own thing, Soyeon has to really make sure she maintains captivation. So she's a little bit more aggressive in her physicality and her choices. They feel more full, right? So you naturally want to keep watching her. So they're more of an environmental, individualized choice makers, but it's still just as valid as what you're seeing from Soyeon. They both have to hold it down in order for it to work, which it does. And then they bring it back in. Da-da. Yeah, yeah, cool. So they had that little sound in the back. They make that choice to connect to what's going on in the music, even though they're not the ones that are featured in that moment. Little dig there for me. I wish, that's just a personal note for me, I think it would be really nice to see them dig or use their hinge to make this a bigger moment personally in that transition. But I understand this is very similar to how they would do it in heels, so I don't really have any qualms. It's just a note or something I noticed with that move. I am used to seeing it a little bit bigger with a bigger hinge to justify. Nothing crazy though. LATATA, I like the flick of the wrist, really fun. Pulling it through, dun dun over. They take it right there by the hips. LATATA, and I like how we bring those hands up. They take it out, they drop it down. She's still up and featured. They take it through, boom, boom, nice with the head. And because they have their hair down, they're not wearing a ball cap or it's not up or anything. So it's really nice to see that that hair texture, you know, have a nice moment with it too. It feels residual, and I think everybody's holding it down pretty well. Well, somebody has their hair in a ponytail, but it still works because she has bangs, which is cool. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Uh-oh. Now this part here, notice we do have an aggressively large space between my first two over here in this diagonal and then my three back here. I am curious what we're building on this, but it's still very clear to know who my feature is. It's great. They slowly sync up. But then if you look, it technically when they come back up, it fills in that space pretty well. So I don't know if that was just a preference or something we never really talked about. Don't quite know, but I don't mind it. Really, it was just an interesting thing to catch, that space. It still feels, I mean, honestly, really thinking about it, I do feel like they are a little bit too far out. I think if they came in just a smidge, I think it would make it feel more symmetrical, which is what it's kind of going for. I don't know if she's supposed to be on the same line, but they are a smidgen off, and they're also a smidgen off. But it's nothing crazy. It's just an observation, honestly. And I'm glad to say that. There's really nothing in this that I'm like, wow, that would need to change, and here's why. You know, because there are some cases where if there's choreography or there's movements put into something, whether they're just completely impractical to the structure of how it is to be done to the track, like if the track is asking for something and you're just giving something so combative and it's kind of making the track not resonate well with people, that would be bigger cases to need to change and modify, which there are groups that do have to do that sometimes with choreographers. It happens, right? And that's okay. And then vice versa, where everything matches and feels like butter and it just clicks, right? So you get both ends of the spectrum. Some are just more promoted than others, or they're just talked about more. But in this case here, it does make me curious, you know, about some of these choices. Was it just a circumstantial in this moment they set up a little too far out, or is that an intentional choreography choice? I don't know. It just makes me intrigued. It doesn't make me feel it's a little off. Not really that. because they showcase a really strong degree of we know what we're doing, we know what's going on, they have a confidence behind what they're doing, hence why it shifts my brain when I'm watching as a, are they making a mistake? I actually don't think that at all. I'm instead thinking, why is this preference the way that it is? I'm just considering everything as a preference choice, not as a, ooh, they didn't do it right. Does that kind of make sense? Which is a great thing on them. What a great start, and it's only their debut track, right? So I'm very excited to continue to see more of their stuff in the future if this is how we're going to be starting it. And I mean, I had Queendom to technically start, but this is my technical start of their marathon. So even when Queendom's over, we're going to be seeing them after that show, which is super cool. Dun, 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 so we're starting whatever we did before. You know, that part was a lot more clear. Ding, so it was very clear. So they hit the and they made that more legato. They didn't chop it up, which I also find interesting, but I don't mind it. Dun, 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 dun. And then they chop up that second one a little bit more. Then it's the same stuff as you did before. Very consistent on that range. Looks very nice. There's your ponies hit, and we're doing the same thing. I will say this, though. It does look like she's a little too far in. She would need to scoot out just a smidge. I can tell that because of how it's set up. Or actually, it's a mix of she needs to scoot out a bit and she needs to scoot in a bit. So maybe they just set up the whole beginning of the second verse potentially a little off, and it just kind of infiltrated in this way. But also, it's because they did the same schema of formation structure in the pre-chorus the first time, so I'm able to catch it a little bit easier the second time. That's why I'm really saying that it just looks a little different, a little off, but I don't care. It's a dance practice. And look, even in this case, you can't really tell at this point. I love you. Same choreo, I think, is what we've seen already. I love that second part, da, 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 and then we do an extra little tap on that foot, and then we switch it up. I love you. Pick it up. I love the extra breath in the torso there. That subtlety, ooh, with the head. I love it. Love you. The same thing as we've seen before, so I don't want to feel like I'm beating a dead horse. I really like the choices. LATATA, LATATA, LATATA. So it's not LATATA, LATATA, it's LATATA. So their accent on the movement is different. So it helps us hear the track, LATATA, LATATA, how she's sustaining it. We're able to recognize it more effectively because of the placement of the accent point in the choreo. So I really like that. It's cool. Yep. Dun, 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 dun. Once again. Fun. Here's a straight line. Now this is different. We weren't in a straight line before, but I like seeing it here. Yes, in this case, when you do see a straight line with an even number, typically, most of the time you see them when it's split center. It does feel a little off because that is your center point. Most of the time we do mark it in that way. So is that a big deal? No, not really, because they're all evenly spaced. And so if you have your center properly split and you have it evenly spaced, that's kind of ideal format. But honestly, out of the two, priority-wise, you'd want to make sure everybody's properly spaced, you know, meaning that where their feet start and finish is pretty equal across. Now they're pretty close here. There's a little bit more space there, but then they're pretty close. So I would say it's just our center that is a little bit further away. But because, once again, if they are splitting center, you can allow for more forgiveness in those types of choices. But we're talking micro spacing accountability, which for a debut group, and for the fact is, I don't know if they're really known. I think they're known for like charisma, performance quality than they are about synchronicity. I haven't really heard that about G-I-DLE, that they're a whole vibe and a half, and I wanna respect what they're known for in the industry nowadays, but this is their debut, and so I'm just wanting to see if I can pick up on those fingerprints here. They do come across more of charisma focus, more so than synchronicity, but this is freaking clean though. And for debuts, I kind of expect that because they work on a debut track a lot longer, I've noticed, than a lot of comebacks, especially around year 2, year 3. They tend to get a lot busier, so I'm curious about what year 2, year 3 version of G-I-DLE is going to look like compared to here. It's going to make me very excited because this is still technically the Queendom era, which is right where I'm at right now with them anyway, which is so fun. Same choreo as before. I love the fact that everybody's on the same page of how many swipes going on with those hips before we do a body roll, and they're all taking that body roll up at the same time and in the same direction so we can clearly see it in the unison. Very well done. That part there, boom, ding, ding. It is interesting in this case. I feel that we are going and using those biceps and triceps. I would say if I'm going to do it, if I'm going up, I would want to use my bicep. If I'm going down, I would use my tricep, is what it feels like as I'm doing that exact move. in that, it does come across not as consistent as some of the other choices because we're not using our back in that moment. And a lot of times when I talk about choices with the arms, with girl groups specifically, it is something that's brought up pretty often. You can tell that we're not using our back, and so there is bigger discrepancies in your range, and you can tell that right here. Not everybody's making the same choices, but we're kind of in the same ballpark, so it kind of is what it is. They don't really, in this movement, you kind of, with how it's set up, I don't think you really can as much without changing the movement itself. So I, once again, don't really have any issues with it. It's just an observation. I find that interesting. I like that. They all match the tempo to come right back into the straight line. LATATA. And here we go, right there into the same choreo as we've seen before. Very nice. Ding, ding, ding. So notice they bring it up and then they bring those arms up nice and full. That part right there is easier to clean in terms of if you're using your back for this type of energy, it's easier to get everybody on the same page because you're all originating from the same energy pool. But if everybody's biceps and triceps are of different strength levels, sometimes some people have a better refinement of the choppy isolation that you can glean from those muscle groups and some not so much. And so it's just a little bit trickier to clean from personal experience. But every night, LATATA. Da-da-na-na-na, da-na-na. Do you see what I mean? Like in this part, it really feels like we're finishing up. No, what? But notice also here, she's putting, I think she put a little too much weight in this palm because what happens is it starts to like scoot across the floor. Watch. You see what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't feel like a smooth slide like what you saw in the music video. That's why I just think of that. But I really love this whole position. It's so nice. It's so tasteful. It's classy, sophisticated, a whole vibe and a half. I also like the subtlety right here. It does tie into that ending pose as well as what we've seen throughout the choreo. I really like the intention of it. It's cool. Yep, I love that pose. Da-da-da-da-da. And then right there, boom, they could have cut it and I would have totally been like, okay, cool, that was a great ending. But not really. It's kind of anticlimactic to a degree. But that's not really anybody's fault. That's just kind of how the track is. And I think that's fine. I think there's fun to be had in the tracks that have a very typical structure and tracks that have not a typical structure because it allows us to learn different ways of choreographic perspective, honestly. I think it's cool. I like the bleed up from her chest right there. Looks nice. Everybody making their subtle choices. So you have the three that walk, and then you have the three that stand up on the piano note, which is nice. Da 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 gonna, cool. Ding, 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 and then right here. Normally, I see people use their back a lot more than what we're seeing here. Right now, it kind of feels a bit isolated, so I'm very excited. When I see debuts, I start to notice some things, and something I'm noticing with them is we are keeping our energy in the extremities. I see this in the studio all the time. So this is not an abnormal thing. I actually see this more often than when I see people use their back, honestly. So that's why I'm able to bring it up more often, and I'm able to catch it faster. I don't know why my voice is going out, my bad, but I digress. I don't know if that was if we're taking like a ballroom posture approach, but we're hinging it over. That's what it's kind of feeling like a little bit more. I don't know if that was in fact the case, but I'm normally used to seeing people really use their torso to allow these motions and these moments to have more power behind them. But in this case, it kind of feels like we're kind of stopping our energy right here at the joint. So I am very curious as to, are we going to collectively start using our back more to create more powerful performances? Is that going to happen sooner rather than later? Over the years, you're able to see a group get in their groove of what they like to do and what they're good at stylistic wise. I've seen that for every marathon. They get in a groove. Some groups are really clean in the beginning, but they still end up refining and improving over the years through just natural maturity being a group. And some groups have a way shakier start, but a fantastic checkpoint at the end of a marathon. Truly, I love looking at groups in that way because I feel like I get to learn something and I get to see a snapshot of their lives kind of in a movement context sense, and it reminds me of me getting to see my own dancers grow up through the generations. I just find it really fun and I empathize with the process. So all that to say though, I like the subtle level shifts on that. Would it have been helpful to have a more aggressive level representation or a level shift between the two? Yes, but I don't think it's needed. I don't think it really needed to. Do you know what I mean? I kind of feel like one of our girls, I mean, it wasn't quite clear what levels they were going for in that moment. I know my first group, my first two girls went down. down. They went lower. So I'm assuming that it was supposed to be these girls go down, and then when they come up, these girls go down. But what happened is it looked like my girl right here went up a little too early, so I only saw these two go down when these two went up. But it was so subtle that I couldn't really appreciate it or be very clear on if that was in fact the case. So let's see it. 7, 8, it goes hit and front row, then we go back row. Maybe, I don't know. So that part, I guess I'll treat it like an actual note. That would be my one request, or something that I would look at is, okay, really seeing a difference in those levels. If we're gonna do it, I want to really see that. But I love the arms. The commitment to the arms is really nice. Hitting that boom, da da dum dum. Notice for that 8 count, we had one dancer directly behind another dancer. And then from there, it's still happening, but I do like these taps here where they have those arms in front. Really fun. Accent with the hips every day, every night. And then they go right there into that straight line. I love her range on this. It's very full. You can tell she has some good shoulder flexibility on that part. Then we're going right back into this moment right here. Just a different build up into it. She has a fun moment there. I love you. 3, 4, same choreo. And we finish. Fun finish. It's a really nice choice with the stylized hands. I'm definitely a fan. Probably one of my favorite ending poses. I think Soyeon really just stands out as like, this is like such a charisma pose. Make that a profile picture. Put that on a billboard. Goodness gracious. This was fantastic. I think this is such a fun start, and I'm honestly really happy we're finally taking a look at G-I-DLE. Truly. It's been a long time, and we are here finally doing it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. If you want to see more G-I-DLE, I have it. I mean, I'm actively taking a look at the marathon as we speak. Who knows if during this process, as I'm looking at them, they come out with a comeback. Sometimes that happens with my groups, and this comes out a lot sooner than I'm expecting. And I'm very excited to see them not only in their discography in isolation, but seeing their time on Queendom. I'm kind of pulling a similar case like I did with Stray Kids, where I was seeing them in a Kingdom Legendary War context prior to my marathon with them. So I'm excited to extend the same courtesy to G-I-DLE. Cannot wait for the discussions on this. What are your thoughts on the debut? Does it kind of remind you similar things, different things, especially those of you who really dive into music on Patreon? There's some of you guys that I really appreciate your perspective on that particular niche. I'm curious, what does this song remind you of? And those of you who have been a part of this group since the beginning, I want to hear from you too. If you're a fan of this group, I want to know what what is something that you've enjoyed over the years that you're excited for me to be able to uncover over this month. I think that's really cool too. Once again, my name is Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.